Okay, so thank you for coming for the last session of this conference. My name is Martin Stefanko. I work at Red Hat as a principal software engineer. If you are interested to find me online, you can find all my social here. And you came for Quarkus session today, so I can also share this that I am actually writing a book for Manning called Quarkus in Action, which you can find at this link. And also, if you use this code, which is at the bottom of the page, you will get 35% discount. So if you will like what I'm showing you today, so probably this is a good read because we have already 8 chapters out, and we expect to release spring next year. Okay, so you came here to learn about Quarkus. So if I can get a quick show of hands, how many people here use Quarkus in production daily? Okay, how many people tried Quarkus or like playing with Quarkus? Okay, and who never heard about Quarkus? Wow. I have something to show. Okay, so first thing, before we start, I promised you a slideless session, but yesterday when I first saw these LED panels, I also imagined Star Wars because they definitely look like lightsabers. So I actually spent 1 hour yesterday doing this. I am not a front-end developer, so bear with me for this session. But it kind of runs into my session because this is definitely something that I want to speak of. What we want to talk about today is developer productivity or developer joy. I know it's like something that we just say, like a marketing term, but let's put it like this. When I first learned about Quarkus, even before it was named Quarkus, originally internally, I've never written enterprise application in any different framework. And I'm actually not in Quarkus team, I'm in different team. So my manager is not very happy about it. But what I want to talk about today, as you can see on General Grievous side, you as a user or as a developer, you always need to handle several things when you are developing your applications. Of course, you need to handle the API, the framework that you are using, unnamed framework, not pointing fingers. Every time that you want to do something, this upper right corner, you make your changes, you code your changes, then you will compile your application, hopefully run at least unit test with it. Then when you have some package that you build, you will run it, verify your changes manually typically, and you see if it works or not, and you will repeat, basically. But for this to work, you need to stop your flow of coding. You know, like when you code for some time, you will get actually into this state of mind where you are really deep into the code, and you every now and then, more often than not, you need to stop, compile for a minute, with test few minutes, I don't know. And for this reason, what you are doing? Are you checking the logs of the tests or are you scrolling Twitter? So actually, this is where I find the most value in Quarkus, and I will show you later what dev mode that Quarkus has provides. Also, anytime that you are developing enterprise application, you have some external dependencies. So you always need to somehow provide these dependencies. And nowadays, the easiest way are containers. If you have a database, if you have a messaging system or something, please tell me that you are using containers and not doing this still manually. But still, it's some kind of manual configuration that you need to spin all of your dependency or dependent architecture and take care of it, clean it, stop it when you are finished. Hopefully, you get my point. And also, when you are moving to Kubernetes, that's a separate chapter because everyone loves YAML and writing very long YAMLs. So this is also where Quarkus will help you. So with that, I should also remind you, where is it? That there is this Slido for room 6. So if you have any questions, you know how this works already. And with that, I will go into terminal, into my favorite repository, favorite directory, and I will now create. I will create now this one. This one. I will create a new Quarkus application. Hopefully everyone can see this. If not, shout. With Quarkus command line interface, I guess I don't need to really go into details. It's just a wrapper that is doing remote calls. Why I prefer to use this CLI is because Quarkus, as most of the modern frameworks, allows you to use either Maven or Gradle. And if you are using Quarkus CLI, this is automatically translated either to Maven or Gradle task and Maven goals of Quarkus Maven plugin. So if I'm switching, this is more helpful because I don't need to run into silly issues. So I will create a new application, not service A. Let's do, that was my testing yesterday, Avenger service. And I will include two extensions. Extensions in Quarkus are individual pieces of functionality that you can basically pick and choose from the list that I will show you later. Here I'm including my JAX-RS server with JSON parsing, JSON library, and also SmallRye OpenAPI extension, which provides you with the generated OpenAPI document. If I have internet, and I don't, I will switch to Java 17 because I miss still some certificates. No? Oh, come on. Rest easy reactive checksum. What's wrong? Different argument. Sorry. So now, hopefully, with -x, not -e, after a while, I will get a Quarkus application generated. What this is doing is no magic. There is actually a site code.quarkus.io, which, if you are familiar with Spring, it's basically the starter interface, which this Quarkus create goal actually calls through HTTP to download my application. So with that, I can go to my Avenger service, open it in my IDE, put this into presentation mode, and we can start. I will not cover all the basics of Quarkus or like general Maven stuff that it will generate. By default, we still default to Maven, but Gradle is one-to-one. I will start directly coding. So first and most important thing with Quarkus is Quarkus dev mode. You can run it with this Quarkus dev, but this will only translate to Maven W Quarkus dev goal of Quarkus Maven plugin. I will use this one. What this does, it will basically run your application in continuous reload with tests, I will show you later, which you can directly start testing. Plus. So I know that this generated code will actually generate a single JAX-RS resource on path /hello. So I can call it with 8080/hello. And I will get back hello from REST Easy Reactive, which is just my JAX-RS server library. What I mean by live reload is that if I will make any changes here, hello from GeeCON, just save the file and repeat HTTP request, you see that my application is automatically recompiled, kind of restarted, not totally, and I will get changes in mere milliseconds. Basically, this whole idea is that you don't need to stop. Basically, you are just developing. Anything basically like changing classes, adding tests, removing configuration or changing configuration, most of this stuff is supported. Of course, there are still some missing pieces, but when I have really a full day that I work with Quarkus, then I am typically stopping the dev mode like once or twice if I run into some issues. I also think that I will run into one issue today, but we will get there when we will get there. So this will also generate example, not this one, example tests for me, which are annotated with this Quarkus test annotation. And you can see that here I'm testing my hello endpoint that it will return REST Easy Reactive, which of course, now it doesn't because now I'm returning GeeCON. So inside this dev mode, you can see at the bottom, hopefully, that there is a bunch of letters that you can press to get some actions actually in this live reloaded terminal. So if I press H, I will get help, which will list all possible commands that I can actually execute. And because of my blue color, you probably cannot see this, but here it says that I can, with pressing R, resume testing under continuous testing. So what is continuous testing? Basically, every time that you will change your application and you will send a file, so basically your dev mode is reloaded, we will also execute all the unit tests that we'll find on the class path. So if I press R now, R inside the terminal, you see that I'm running my single test that I'm running, and of course it failed because now I'm returning hello from GeeCON. So I will actually move this for a time being here so you see what I'm doing. I will just fix the test here, hello from GeeCON, and I will just Control S, save the file, and you see that my test is automatically reloaded, so I don't need to do anything. This is actually, there are 3 ways how you can trigger a live reload of your application. The first is HTTP call, so either manual command line or refresh in a browser. Then there is also S somewhere here, S, where you can force the restart inside the dev mode itself. And the third one is when you have continuous testing, then when you just save the file, this is already enough to retrigger the test. Of course, if I just, again, break the test and save the file, I, again, get a fail. Also, one thing that didn't occur to me when I was doing this kind of testing, and I will get into problems later, but this Quarkus test application will actually, well, I can show you because I think with O, I can toggle test output inside my dev mode. So if I press O, we should get test output here. So I press R to restart the test, and you will see that actually we are starting a new Quarkus application on port 8081. My dev mode is running on port 8080. Just for the test. And this is because of this Quarkus test annotation. This will always start a new run of your application. But if you are just doing this kind of integration test, and you know that you are not introducing any kind of side effects, then it's actually faster to just put this out for the time being when you are developing, because you will see that if I just restart it, so I will see it somewhere. You see that now my test is executed in like few milliseconds here. And of course, if you have multiple tests, this can take some time. Definitely if you have some more complex tests. But this is one possible way how to make it faster. Still, if you have this, oops, I didn't want to press it here, sorry. I wanted to press it here, Control Z. And probably, yeah, foreground, %1, and we are back, hopefully. No, this doesn't work. Sorry, I pressed Control Z inside the terminal window, which I shouldn't have. So I had to stop the dev mode because of my mistake. But otherwise I wouldn't need to. So just keep it in mind that this will always start a new instance of your Quarkus application for the duration of the class execution. One question that I will always get when I'm showing continuous testing is that if you have thousands of tests, will it always execute these thousands of tests? No, actually, Quarkus will try to guess, and yeah, I need to resume testing for this to show. Quarkus will actually, by default, try to guess, yeah, here it is, the code which you are changing, which actual tests are testing this particular code. So it will try to guess the subset of tests that should be executed. But of course, this is not always, this is still some computation that we are doing on our side. But you can also toggle for instance, only failing test or broken only. This will rerun the test. F will rerun the failed test, and this will toggle broken only mode. So only the tests that fail will be continuously rerun. You can play with it, see what works for you or not. Also, it might work to just, temporary commenting out some packages if it's being executed too much, but I've never got into a case where this would actually interfere with my workflow. Because typically, this dev mode, this terminal dev mode is running on one monitor. I have my IDE on different monitor, and I'm typically just looking at my IDE, saving the file, and I'm just on a periphery seeing if green changes to red. Then I will switch my focus that I broke something. But typically, I don't need to. Also, probably one question that you might ask is what happens if I cannot compile my application? So I will restart my application manually, and dev mode can still handle this. It will just print you the compilation error, and when you fix it and restart your application, still everything works. So you don't need to be afraid about runtime exceptions or something that would kill your application also. This would be more or less everything to continuous testing. We will get into more details later. Let's move this back here, and let's continue somewhere else. One more thing that I want to mention is this instrumentation-based reload, which I can switch with I. Out of the box, this is not enabled, and what it means is that every reload of dev mode will actually reload the whole application that you are writing. But if you press I, and you will toggle this instrumentation-based restart, or maybe I will disable it to show you first what I mean. If I introduce some state here, like atomic integer counter, which I will just print here, or maybe I can do it like cout counter. So now every hello will be, and maybe I can increment it. That would be a good idea. Get an increment. So now every hello. You see already that I'm making mistakes and how fast I'm fixing it. I don't need to stop, I don't need to recompile. I'm just writing code and just hitting it with the HTTP, and everything is done in the background. So you see that if I will now restart the application, again, I will do it manually, but I can change something and just hit it with HTTP again. You will see that the state is lost because like my whole class was restarted, not restarted, but recreated from different class loader, which is the magic behind. But if you toggle that instrumentation-based reload, actually, I'm continuing here, when you restart, hopefully, oh, no. Hello. No. No, for this it doesn't work. Oh, for what did it work? If I change only something here, I think, and now I have 0 there, so that's not a good, yeah. Okay, but I can change it back to show you that you see that if I'm changing only something inside the method, you see that I restarted via instrumentation, and the state of that class is still kept. This is actually done by manual bytecode transformation. So if you do this inside the method boundary, typically it works. But if you change whole classes, it will default to full reload. And you can always see this information, whether it was full reload or instrumentation inside the dev mode. Just something which might be useful when you are working with this. Okay, moving on. What we have next. Okay. Very nice shortcuts is W and D. If I press WD, you see that my browser was already open at my application, which is kind of good shortcut. But one which I like better is D, which will also open a page inside my terminal, but on /8080/q/devui, which is something which we call devui. Basically, inside dev mode, you will always get this single page of basically summary of all the extensions which you are including inside your Quarkus application. And now I remember that I forgot to show you extensions. So with Quarkus extensions, but I will write it later, like shorter, sorry, I can list all the extensions which I have installed in my project. I need to be inside the project directory. With -i or -- installable, I can list all potential extensions which I can install inside my applications, which we are not going to go over today. You see that there is a lot of them. And these are only extensions, I think, which are inside Quarkus platform. There is also this concept of Quarkiverse because we couldn't keep up with the number of extensions that people were introducing. So actually now anyone can create their own extensions inside Quarkus ecosystem. We will give you a repository inside this Quarkiverse organization with all the setup, CI testing with the platform. You are just responsible for the code which is pushed inside the repository. So if you are interested in having your library integrated in Quarkus, this is probably the best way. Okay, so just to give you an idea, you have also here basically a command somewhere that you can copy paste to add extensions inside your application. And I just need to think if I want to show you something else. Probably one more thing which is very useful, at least for me, is this toggle of log levels. By pressing J, I can just switch log level inside my application, which is very useful when you are debugging something. And probably out of the box now, it's enough. Hopefully you got the idea that dev mode is a really powerful tool. It will allow you to really speed up your day-to-day task to extreme degree. Okay, so moving back to extensions. So I want to create actually a CRUD service, hopefully even with security. So if I want to search for extension, I can do it with this Quarkus CLI, but you can also find all extensions listed inside the documentation. So just searching for, I don't know, JDBC or Hibernate or whatever will give you actually 15 to 1 hour guide, step-by-step instructions about how that particular extension can be utilized. So it's actually a great way how to start with any extension. At the end, you typically have some reference material or point to some specification or some more resources. So if I want to learn something, this is actually the fastest way. But I know the extensions which I'm going to use, and I didn't show you much of the UI. Okay, sorry. A lot of things that I want to show, and I'm switching a lot. Okay, so back to Dev UI. Here in the default view, you see all the extensions which you have installed inside your application. Of course, there are a few which you don't see manually because what the extension is, if I type it without E here, you see I have REST Easy Reactive, Reactive JSON, and Small I Open API. But this is only, come on, Maven dependencies from IO Quarkus, Quarkus-something. So it's not magic. You can add these dependencies manually to the POM. And actually, POM is also supported with live reload. So if you just paste it here, dev mode will still be able to consume that. But let's add extensions manually. So, but first, not here. Here. On every extension can optionally give you any number of optional insights inside the application. This is also something which you can create as feature request if you would like to have some more information. For instance, Arc implementation of CDI in Quarkus. I can click on all the beans that I have inside my application, and I can see all the beans inside my application. You can also somewhere here see removed components, which I don't need to open, but okay, which are basically the number of classes, because Quarkus is doing these build time versus runtime compilations. Actually, a lot of stuff that typical enterprise framework needs to do at runtime, we do at build time, and we actually can do the whole dependency tree at build time. So 67 classes from these small applications will never be included in the package jar or whatever native or what you will decide to output because they are just not referenced. This is also good to find some orphaned classes or your orphaned beans which you defined and forgot about. Also, very nice feature which you have here, but I don't have different beans and I don't want to waste time on it, is a dependency graph. Maybe I can pick a different one. This is probably slow internet. Yeah, here it is, which is basically gives you a dependency graph of your CDI beans, something which I also use a lot. Another very nice feature is that this is also connected back to my dev mode. So if I click my class greeting resource here, you will see like workspace 19 light up because it actually opened my class in IDE. So if I go into something else, just you believe me, and click that class again and go here back, I'm in greeting resource. So it will try to guess your IDE and it will open that class for you. Okay, so that would be only Arc, but I have also REST Easy Reactive. So you can see, for instance, this is my Jakarta REST or JAXA REST implementation. I can see endpoint scores, exception mappers, etc. We don't need to go into it. But I also included this small Open API, which is generating Open API document from my service. And actually, I can just click this link to get it open to see what was generated. So on path/hello, I get one get method, which is greeting resource, then can return 200. But you will also get this Swagger UI out of the box, which is nice for testing, just by adding that extension. And most of that information is provided here. Also, here you can see the configuration tab, which basically lists all the possible configuration that you can set inside this application. So if you add new extensions, new configuration will be added to the site. And if you change something here, darken. Quarkus log console darken, I will set it to 1 and just save this. You will see that if I go back into my terminal, this is automatically applied into my dev mode. And actually, if I go into my configuration file, which is in resources application properties, you see that this value is automatically added here. So if I change it back here to 0, save that file, and now I need to manually restart because dev UI is basically HTTP request, but now I don't have HTTP request. You see this is automatically picked up too. Okay, what else in dev UI? You also have that whole dev mode in here. If you prefer to click, you can run continuous testing here somewhere. Some of these buttons, I'm not using this, so sorry. Only testing. I prefer terminal still. I don't like to click. Here I have what? Continuous testing, so I see that my test hello endpoint, how it did well or wrong. And dev services we don't have yet. And here you have some build metrics which we don't have time to cover in 50 minutes. Okay, so moving on, because this is really short, 50 minutes. So if I do H here, I think that I cover most of the things. So we can start adding extensions. Here I have information how to add an extension somewhere, Quarkus extension add, which I can do extension add. I will add 3 new extensions. It doesn't really matter to explain all of them now. So we will see that just by executing that Quarkus add inside the same directory, I modified the POM.xml. My dev mode is restarted. Now is something happening. I will explain in a minute. And my Quarkus application in dev mode is restarted, and somewhere here you should see already Hibernate Panache, REST data Panache, and JDBC Postgres extension. But again, everything that was done, the magic is the new 3 dependencies inside POM.xml. But again, I don't need to restart the application, which is useful for me. So what was happening, because why it took a little bit more time, is actually because I added JDBC Postgres driver on the class path. Quarkus sees that I will probably like to connect to a Postgres database, but I don't specify connection information for the database. So it will go ahead and it will start Postgres container for me using test containers. This is called dev services, and by pressing C inside the terminal, you can see that a new Cranky Darwin, Podman PS, Cranky Darwin was started for me as a Postgres container, and Quarkus automatically injected config like dbkind, JDBC URL for that started container. So my application is already connected to real Postgres database, and I did nothing. I just added an extension, which is very powerful for me. So now if I reload my application for IDEA, I can start developing my entities. So I will create an Avenger, which will be entity that extends panache entity. And we will do public field string name, public string civil name, public boolean snapped. And that's it. This is my enterprise entity class. If you are familiar with JPA, you know that typically, or like JPA, whole general Java programming, you know that probably fields is not something that you want to write public. Also in JPA, you need to have ID field, you need to have no-R constructor, which I have here. You need to have public getters and setters for all fields which are mapped to a database, and probably also equals hash code, if I remember correctly, needs to be implemented. Not with Quarkus. With Quarkus, we are using this Panache framework, which is actually coming from the same guys that brings you Hibernate, as their opinionated approach to simplify persistence. And actually, I like it a lot because it saves you a lot of writing. And why I can use actually public fields here and don't need to write a lot of stuff, because as I already mentioned, Quarkus is doing a lot of stuff at build time when you compile your application. So that means it also rewrites your application. So when you compile, it will actually rewrite these public fields to private. It will generate getters and setters, everything that you need. And it will actually rewrite all the accesses. So if I would rewrite, for instance, this to Avenger, we can keep it greeting resource, get list Avengers, counter we can keep. With this extending of Panache entity, I'm implementing something which is called active record pattern. I don't have time to get into details, but basically what it gives me is on the entity class itself, a bunch of static methods, or basically even instance methods or instances of my entity that are doing database operations. So if I want to do select star from Avenger entity, I can just call Avenger list all. But I could have like 50-minute talk about Panache, so I will not get into details. And you notice that I also deleted this produce annotation, which was setting my return time to text plain, because I have this REST easy reactive JSON on a class path. All JAX-RS resources by default are producing and consuming JSONs. This is how this specification is defined. So if I now call my HTTP 8080 and now it's Avenger, no. Oh, I'm missing something. Yeah. I'm talking into coding, please. Bear with me. List of Avenger. Hopefully now it's okay. And again, Quarkus survived. You see that now I'm actually doing select into a database, but there is nothing inside the database, so you don't believe me. Actually, Panache comes with a very nice feature, which I think is also in Spring now, where you can create import SQL inside resources directory, and because I need to save typing, where you can basically pass some SQL which is always executed when Hibernate is initializing a database. So I'm just adding some data into the Avenger entity, and it is important to note that the Hibernate needs to be initializing, because I see this a lot. You need to have a strategy that will really generate the database, because otherwise that import SQL will be not picked. So if I repeat my call, my application is restarted and my data is populated into real database. I could show you, and I could go inside the container, but I don't have time for that if I want to show you everything. So you need to believe me that this is really inside the database. One more thing, because of course if I run the test now, it will fail because it's expecting hello from GeeCON. But you see here that when I run the test, actually a new Postgres was started just for that test execution. So these dev services out of the box work in dev mode. You will have a single instance of a container for a dev mode, and you also get the instance of each dev service depending on your extension for test execution. So no more like testing against different database just for testing because it's hard to set up. And this is everything done out of the box. You see that I didn't write a single line of code regarding any container setup. So we could probably change the test to fix it, Avenger status code. Let's do it like this. Hopefully this will work. Size. Come on. If I can type, which I can't. Hopefully, yeah, this fixed the test. Just because I saved the file, you see that we are already passing. I can restart it, you see it's already passing. And this keeps running the Postgres for some time. Okay, so this would be dev services. So far, dev mode, parent of everything, dev UI, continuous testing, dev services, really powerful tooling which you have at your disposal to play with this. So I still have nice timing, so I can show you that basically, /q/OpenAPI. Now I'm just manually accessing that OpenAPI document that was generated. So you see that we have now /Avenger, which is basically only endpoint that I'm exposing. And I told you that I want to do a CRUD service. So actually, there is a really nice, easy way how to do this. So I will delete this greeting resource. I will generate a new interface, Avenger resource, and I will just interface extends panache entity resource, where I will just pass my entity and the type of its ID, which I forgot to mention. Because you are extending this panache entity, and because ID definition is something which very often repeats to just default generated value, you will get it out of the box from this panache entity. If you need to override this strategy for generation of IDs, you can extend directly panache entity base. Just to mention it. Where did I end? Here. So I need to provide the type of the primary key. And hopefully this is enough. So if I just repeat the request to my application, you will see that I got actually a generated CRUD JAX-RS resource out of the box with everything. I even count, post, Avenger ID, etc. We can also probably check it inside. Where is my small I? OpenAPI, here you are. So you can see that I have now a CRUD resource. Basically, I'm not counting tests on my entity class and just a simple, very single line, basically, interface. And 95%, as Adam Bean is saying, of applications. Okay. I can also show you that this still works, but probably you will believe me, and I don't need to show you that the generated resource is doing what it should do. This is actually this Hibernate ORM REST data panache. There are currently only supported Postgres, MySQL, and MongoDB to do this kind of stuff, but if you are interested, PRs are welcome. Probably, because we still have time, I will also do security, extension add. I will add OIDC, and I think that this is where my dev mode cannot survive. And it will not start the dev mode. Yeah. Now I need to restart my application. You see that if I kill the dev mode, it will actually stop my dev services. So these are tied to a particular dev mode. Especially important if you are doing multiple Quarkus application on the same machine, because, for instance, if you add small array reactive messaging, it doesn't matter, which has a connector for Kafka or RabbitMQ. This will also span a new dev service. Probably I should mention like which all extensions. So most of the databases have dev services. Messaging providers like Kafka, RabbitMQ, IMQP, I think also MQTT. Security, like something which requires authorization provider, and some more which I don't remember. But you can find it inside the documentation if you would like to. Okay, so I will start the dev mode again because this is unfortunate that OIDC actually requires some call to the identity provider on a startup, which I don't have started inside the dev mode. But you see already here that I'm starting 2 containers. One of them is still Postgres. And I also started GeeCON now, which is my identity provider on port. I can press C here. Postgres, GeeCON is started on port. Okay, I don't know what kind of port is this, but this is already GeeCON, my authentication server provided by the service. I will just quickly log in here because I need to actually import. I don't need to import? No. I need to import. Unfortunately, because if you are trying this locally, some cache will stay in some services, and it's not good because definitely Quarkus RAM shouldn't be here, and it is. Wow. This is new to me because I didn't know that that dev service can remember the state. But we can try. So hopefully, if I now try to call my application, it works because this extension actually requires some configuration. So inside my application, I will do Quarkus day config, which is a bunch of configuration. And I will explain this later, but hopefully now, no? It should be. Let's try it here. Localhost 8080/Avenger. Oh, come on. Something happened inside my podman, which I don't understand, but you already see that I am being correctly redirected, but for some reason, like really that container is somehow cached somewhere where it shouldn't be. And it's strange because I know that I needed to like edit the realm manually. So let me try to do it again. This admin. Please don't be there. Come on. Oh. I don't really know why it's cached, but let's do podman kill container RAM. I don't have it here, so why is it cached? Live demos. Okay, cloak. I have really no idea. I have no idea why are you caching any stuff because I don't have any images, so you should, let's do something which always helps. I really don't know why it's somewhere caching my configuration. It's starting a new container, so I really don't understand that. But live demo. Let's do it one more time. If it doesn't work, I am going to drop it. Okay. I have no idea, like, maybe I can remove. I don't know how to remove real settings. Action, delete. Let's try to do it like this. Create realm, browse, Quarkus realm, create And hopefully, let's do host 80/Avenger. Nice, now it works. So now when I try to access my resource, I am automatically, just by having that extension and that part of configuration, now everything on the root is authenticated. I am OIDC redirected to Keycloak. I need to log in. And when I log in, I am redirected back into my application where I get my data. Of course, this works only with web app because I'm specifying this manually here. There are like so many configs for security where I get lost that I don't need to cover it here. One more thing that I want to show you here is this %prot, which you can see here. One that is especially important is this for JDBC URL, because I told you that my dev service for Postgres is actually started because I don't have this connection URL specified. So if you will just specify the property like this, it will be used in every execution of Quarkus. But Quarkus comes with this motion of configuration profiles when prot is only packaged jar or native executable, dev is dev mode, and test is test mode. So in this way, you can define particular or different values for different execution modes. So I'm defining my property only in prod mode. So in dev mode, it is still undefined, and I will still get the dev service spawned. Also here, I am authenticating that root path. Also, you see that I am disabling it inside the test. So I will not require test execution inside my, or security inside my test execution. I'm also doing my UI, which is the furthest that I can get to be always included, because by default, Swagger will be included only in dev mode. And a bunch of OpenShift config, which I have 3 minutes. Okay, I will try. Because I promised you also OpenShift, so I will stop my dev mode because I'm basically finished with my application. Now I can package it and start basically deploying it to production. So I will just add one more extension, which is OpenShift, and I should be connected to my OpenShift instance, which is running somewhere where I already have Postgres and Keycode deployed. Hopefully you can see it. So if I want to now deploy the application to that OpenShift, I should be logged inside this terminal. I can just basically package my application, skipping test for time, and just by passing single configuration property or system property, but this is also configuration property set by true, it should automatically trigger deployment to my OpenShift cluster. And I don't need to do anything else, just add that. Yeah, you already see that I'm connected to my OpenShift cluster, and I'm pushing my application to that. Okay, I have 2.5 minutes left, and this will take a minute. So probably we can move to questions. If you have any questions here, just you can shout it. We will check it from time to time. Okay, if we add a new extension, where the version come from? Good question. Inside POM XML, you see that I have this Quarkus BOM, which is somewhere here. And this is where all versions come from. This is automatically versioned by the Quarkus platform. Do we need to restart the application by Quarkus UI in case we added a new extension? No, I did it several times without the restart. How does it better than Spring? Just your opinion. For me personally, because I also develop from time to time in Spring Boot, not plain Spring, it's uncomparable in my opinion. That's just far too behind. In Spring Boot, it's still for me that I need to stop, that I really need to compile the application, run the test, verify what I'm doing, really just run java -jar, my bootable jar, to get the application running, or even Spring Boot run, or whatever. But you need to stop and compile. With this dev mode, I'm typically developing the test in parallel with what I'm actually working on, and I'm just saving the file and just really periphery watching if the color changes on a different monitor. Can you show how fast it starts and some script in prod mode? Thinking about using it in serverless environment, AWS Lambda. So if you are going into serverless, I would recommend, because you saw here that I was actually testing on some of the GraalVM crack sessions that I was attending, compiling and deploying it to my OpenShift. as native. So already it's deployed in my OpenShift and hopefully connected correctly, because I also, what I didn't show you, specified some environment variables which are pointing to my OpenShift deployed keycloak and Postgres. Here, that was automatically injected inside my application somewhere. If I go into pod environment, you see this is automatically injected inside my pod. And hopefully, if I typed everything correctly, where is the route? /Avenger. This will take a little bit more while because I'm going to Virginia. Alice. Now this is keycloak on OpenShift, and I'm getting back from OpenShift, the same application, just by a single property. So I was actually testing deploying it as native. With Quarkus, if you are using just Quarkus extensions, we guarantee that you can compile to native mode with this profile, which is included out of the box inside your POM XML. Just test it. If you are going to do serverless, definitely you will get into basic GraalVM startup numbers. Maybe I can show the question back. You will get to normal, sorry. You will get into normal GraalVM numbers. But I would still say that if you are not doing serverless, you are doing long-running Java application, including microservices, JVM is still better because when the JIT optimizations kick in, the performance which you can get from JVM is actually better than you will get from native. Okay, how this will work with Spring? Well, it won't. This is not Spring. This is, again, Java EE front. And actually, there are 4 or 5 Spring extensions, Quarkus supported extensions, or supported Quarkus extensions, which you can use. So if you are using, or if you are doing a really CRUD application in Spring Boot, actually, you can just change the POM XML and you will have Quarkus application. But of course, this is intended as a transition from Spring to Java EE, and eventually we will expect you to move to JAX-RS and CDI, which is our main effort. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I will just show you this again. If you would like to learn more about Quarkus, where we built really a microservices application from scratch with all the explanations, I still think that this is a great resource, and you can support me in this way, and you can find me on socials here. And with that, thank you for your attention.